Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey. Brave the Wild is available on the sportstuff.com and on iTunes. I thank each and every one of you always for downloading and listening to this show. It is greatly appreciated to have you on board once again. Brave the Wild. Well, the Wild played 4 games this past week, and they went 2-2. So, not quite as positive as we may have hoped, but overall, a positive week nonetheless. Unfortunately, though, I had the Wild going undefeated against the Colorado Avalanche. Going 5-0 against them, well, unfortunately, something had to give, and it gave. Colorado Avalanche finally just shut down the Wild until the final few minutes. Shall we just jump right in? Yes, we shall. We might as well just hop right in. Colorado Avalanche on Sunday, March the 8th, the 37th birthday of my brother. Again, another belated birthday shout-out there, even though he's not listening. Colorado Avalanche win 3-2, but unfortunately this game really wasn't a 3-2 game until the final, minutes or so. Varlamov was unbelievable. And, of course, the best part of this game was the most hated members of the Colorado Avalanche were the ones scoring the goals. Gee, isn't that great? Just 2 minutes into the game, you knew it was going to be a bullcrap night. You could just sense it. Cody McLeod scores only his 6th goal of the season with about 2 minutes remaining in the first period. Yep, Cody McLeod. Lots of back and forth, grind, fighting, basically classic Minnesota, Colorado the past couple of years. Patrick Waugh basically getting in arguments with Michael Russo, all that good stuff, or threatening that he's going to sue Michael Russo for an article he wrote. Oh, whatever. I mean, this rivalry is getting a little bit out of hand, quite frankly. Luckily, the Wild do win the season series 4-1, but they don't win this game. Simon Varlamov stopped. Well, he faced 32 shots, stopped 29 of them. 31 shots, stopped 29 of them ultimately in the game. He was phenomenal the entire way. Minnesota made it interesting near the end. Zach Redmond scoring a goal just felt pretty soft, unfortunately. It really did, and Landeskog with the assist on that one, and Landeskog scoring on the power play to make it 3-0. Really frustrating all of us. To be quite honest, again, fairly soft goals and poor defensive plays, ultimately. Colorado, the entire game, you just got the vibe. They came in with the intention. We are absolutely, positively, without a doubt, not, and I mean absolutely, bleeping not losing this game. We are absolutely not going to get swept by the Minnesota Wild this season. And it's just one of those something has to give. The Wild had won 4 games in a row against Colorado, or really 5 if you want to go back to Game 7 last year. But they'd won 4 games in a row this season, and Colorado had been embarrassed. And this was a team that was tired of being embarrassed, and they took it to the Wild, unfortunately. Late in the third period, the Wild finally score a goal. Chris Stewart, with less than 6 minutes remaining, his 12th overall of the season, and it was a pretty nice one. And then Thomas Vanek with a tip-in type of goal, which is basically what he does. Pretty much, that's pretty much what Thomas Vanek does. 14th of the season with, about 50 seconds left in the game. No, not 50 seconds. What am I even saying? Literally about 36 seconds or so left in the game. And 39 technically, but, it is what it is. Minnesota Wild ultimately, they never got a shot off after that. They lost the face-off, the puck rolled, and the horn sounded pretty much. So it was cute that we wound up making it a 1-goal game, and that was pretty much all she wrote. A very, very frustrating game if you're a Wild fan. Not what you wanted to see at all, especially with a team that had been posting about the top power play in hockey and had shut down like 1 billion power plays in a row. Well, they gave up a power play. The Avalanche went 1 for 3 on the night, and the Wild, of course, did not convert on the 2 power plays that they had an opportunity. The Wild dominated the shots on goal, ultimately. 34, actually. 34, though Varlamov had 29 saves. But, yeah, whatever that means, right? No, I'm just BSing. But ultimately, the Avalanche played very good defense in this game. That's pretty much the difference. Varlamov was great, and the defense of the Avalanche was way better than it had been. Blocking shots like crazy, winning faceoffs, all the good stuff. The Avalanche won in a lot of important categories. The Wild actually hit the Avalanche more, ultimately. And, the Wild had a flurry in that third period, but Varlamov stopped all the important ones, ultimately. The Wild did not win the game. They scored on the empty net, but again, losing the faceoff is not going to get it done. Losing a key faceoff late in the game. Mikko Koivu, well, he's pretty good on the faceoff for the most part, but wasn't good when we needed him most, unfortunately. So there it is. Just a lot of things kind of gave, and that's what happened with the Wild on March the 8th. A very disappointing loss, but at the same time, you just got the vibe we weren't going to sweep the Avalanche one way or another. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like too good to be true, as much as wonderful as it was, and as much of a nut job that Patrick Waugh can be. They're going to squeak out one, and they did. New Jersey Devils come to town. The New Jersey Devils come to town, and it was a wonderful little night. Tuesday, March the 10th, 6-2 in favor of the Wild. But, yeah, unfortunately, that's scoring a little bit too many goals. It's like you gave up. It's like, it's wonderful that we did it. Don't get me wrong. I'll take the 6 goals, but it just feels like there aren't that many to spare, per se. And it's like you just know we're going to get shut down later in the week, because it always seems to turn out this way when we beat up on an inferior team. New Jersey Devils, one of the few teams under 500 in the NHL. It's just how hockey is nowadays. And other teams that are way under 500, they kind of average out the wins and losses and such. The Oilers and the Buffalo Sabres of the league. You know, teams like that. Wish the Avalanche, but even the Avalanche have a winning record. They're still semi in the playoffs. That was an absolute positive must-win for the Avalanche at the time. Chris Stewart with a strong week, though. Again, like he scored against the Avalanche. He had 2 points against the Devils in this game as well, scoring a goal and an assist, 2 points. Jared Spurgeon, ultimately the number 1 star in the game, and a welcome back to him. Really, really happy to have him back on board this past week. Sean Bergenheim dropped down to the 4th line. He was completely invisible, and everybody's like, what the hell? You know, this Sean Bergenheim, it's not much of a move here. We give up a 3rd-round pick for him, too. Is this another Doug Riseborough type trade where we give up, like, mid to upper-round picks for guys that are just, like, nothings, like Chris Simons and Poe? But, of course, Poe actually was a Chuck Fletcher type move. Or it was a Chuck Fletcher move. It just reminded us of Doug Riseborough because Doug Riseborough sucks. But yeah, Sean Bergenheim, long story longer or long story short, being demoted to the 4th line, and had a conversation with Mike Yeo earlier in the day, played completely different. I mean, we're talking aggressive on the puck the entire night. Oh, and by the way, just literally 1 minute. What am I even saying? Yeah, I mean, literally 1 minute remaining in the first period, dare I say. I keep trying to say 1 minute into the game, but no, it's 1 minute remaining in the first period. Sean Bergenheim with his 9th goal of the season, and first as a member with the Wild. Eric Halla and Kyle Broziak, his new lines mates, assisting on this one. And that 4th line continues to play well, and they did tonight against the St. Louis Blues as well. Key at the end, especially. Oh, just wonderful. Wonderful rebound by the Wild against the, New Jersey Devils, and yeah, we'll talk about the Blues later. Chris Stewart, like I mentioned, 13th assist or goal of the season. Pardon me. He's playing with Koivu and Niederreiter right now. A pretty physical line, to say the least. Big and physical line, and they've been playing very well, to be quite honest. Niederreiter, Koivu, Stewart, all pairing up on that one. Again, a strong line at this point in time. As I hope to not cough to death. I don't know why. I've been coughing like a nut job lately. Danius Zubras, a name that's not too familiar to me, quite honestly. Steve Bernier, who's slightly familiar. And Patrick Elias, still hanging on with his 19th assist there, still playing at a ripe age of 38. making it 3-1 midway through the second period. The Wild, though, scoring, like I was saying, early in the second period, Wild go up 3-0, just made you feel great. And then Zubris scored, and it kind of left you like, who knows? New Jersey might come back, but they probably won't, because the Wild have been dominating the puck the entire night. Like, they're just taking it to these guys. Even though New Jersey got a decent number of shots on goal, you never really got a vibe like, we're in trouble, because Dubnyk was making it look pretty damn easy out there, to be quite frank. And he did keep the Wild in the Colorado game, even though those goals were disappointing for Dubnyk standards, for the most part, in the Colorado game. But at the same time, Colorado was on a mission that entire night, to be quite honest with you. Defensively, even more than offensively. And it was just frustrating beyond belief. Thomas Vanek netting his 15th goal late in the second period. Charlie Coyle, Justin Fontaine. He's been kind of all over the place. Lately, he has been on that third line. The lines are all over the place. Yep, Fontaine on the third line at this point in time, and tonight against St. Louis back down to the fourth line. It's kind of all over the place. I've lost track of who's on what line, but then again, that's how it goes. And sometimes he's just shuffling them during games and putting them back together. All that good stuff. Parise, Pominville, and Granlund have definitely been constants on the top line. It seemed like the top six have been pretty much constants. Chris Stewart usually on the top line, sometimes on the third. It's just kind of all over the place, but it is what it is. Thomas Vanek, a 2-goal night. Very cool. Nice to see him racking up the goals. You know how they always say it's all like a game of averages. When a guy is like not a guy that's normally scoring like 25 to 35 goals a season, and he's only got like 6, and it's like January, and it's like, he'll catch up. Watch, he will. Thomas Vanek, again, like I said, 2 goals in this game, putting him at 16, and a nice power play goal indeed. Zach Parise getting the puck on net. They're fighting for it. It's kind of a scramble. And Thomas Vanek scoring on the power play with his rocket shot. You got to love that. And then Scott Gomez with his 6th goal. The very aging Scott Gomez, who was on the 2000 Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, just like Patrick Elias, with only his 6th goal of the year. And there you go. It was just kind of a semi-save face goal for the New Jersey Devils, and Devin Dubnyk looked pretty pissed off when he gave up that one. He was pretty frustrated, which that's a sign that this guy he's an absolute gamer, and the Wild are just absolutely blessed to have this man in net. He's just he's a beast in every way. Absolutely. And that's a good sign to see him get pissed off about it. Like, absolutely, I'm better than this. I have more pride. Why am I giving up this late goal? Screw that. What if it tied up the game 2-2 against St. Louis? Stuff like that. That's basically how he was acting, and good for him. I mean, this guy he's been a catalyst for this comeback in so many ways. Thanks again, Mr. Scott Gomez. One major stat of note, Sean Bergenheim, again, like I said, all over the puck in this game. Just constantly attacking the puck, regardless of who has the puck. If it's rolling on the walls and he's just getting it back, or he's attacking defensively, or he's attacking the net. 5 shots on goal for Sean Bergenheim. Really cool to see that Mikey O did light a fire under him, and he responded, and it's really good, because Sean Bergenheim is an important player, despite the fact he's not a top 6 forward. We need him. Against teams like St. Louis, against Colorado, Chicago. Let's beat up the Chicago Blackhawks if we're in the playoffs with them again. Anaheim Mighty Ducks, pretty big and physical team. You might want to have some physical players out there that aren't necessarily out there just to fight and cheap shot somebody, break someone's neck with a stick or something, or cause a concussion. It's more about, hey, sending a message, knocking people around a little bit, showing, hey, you're not going to push us around. Don't try to cheap shot our guys. How about that? That's more what you need from a Sean Bergenheim and a Chris Stewart, who is quite an entertaining guy, to be quite honest. I like that. I like the way he winks at people and stuff and has a conversation with teammates, with opponents. He's an interesting guy. He's kind of cool. Hopefully he lasts and the Wild keep him. Very strong week for Chris Stewart, to be quite honest. Let's move on to the Anaheim game. The Anaheim game. Friday, March 13th, so it was a 3-day wait against the top team in the Western Conference. That's fluctuated between the St. Louis's, the Nashvilles, the Chicagos at one point of the season, and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. They are mighty indeed when it comes to Western Conference supremacy at this point in time, and believe it or not, the Wild still very close to the Anaheim Ducks. Very close compared to what they were anyway. The Wild, well, they dominated the shots on goal, at least in the first period. After that, the game kind of got quite even in that category. Unfortunately, the Anaheim Ducks win 2-1 on, well, the first goal wasn't so bad by Francois Wichmann with his 9th goal of the season. It wasn't the worst thing you heard, and unfortunately, you're going to hear Silverberg's name twice in this one. Jacob Silverberg, a valuable forward for the Anaheim Ducks. Definitely a valuable guy indeed. But, man, the first goal, it just kind of reeked of, damn it, it was a screen, to be quite honest. It wasn't necessarily bad defense, but it certainly wasn't good either. It just seemed like nobody was ready for it. And yes, like I was saying, there was a screen. It was kind of a pass, and then the guy was in front, the Anaheim player, whichever one it was in front, ultimately. And Blachman just simply put the puck on net, and Dubnyk was like, where is it, basically, because it was a screen. And nobody was ready to try to block it. You got to help the goalie out just a little bit. It was a clean lane, a clean open shot, and it's kind of one of those bleep happens types of shots. That's basically what it was. Zach Parise, after Thomas Vanek put the puck on net, Parise with the rebound, 27th goal of the season for Zach Parise, 27th assist. Mikko Koivu with his 30th assist on the season. He's got 2 points in this 3-game stretch here, which is nice. It's nice to see Koivu getting some points again. It seemed like for the last couple of weeks, he went from just scoring 3 points, 2 points, 3 assists or a goal and maybe a game-winning goal or 2 goals, this or something. Koivu had been really racking up the points. All of a sudden, it just vanished and disappeared again. It's nice to see him kind of coming back in the fray again. He's actually getting involved in some scoring once again. Again, like I said, losing a key face-off against the Colorado Avalanche just drove me nuts. I'm so pissed off. I mean, you got to win that face-off so the Wild can get some on goal. Maybe there's a miracle goal of some kind. Varlamov's not ready for it or whatever it is. But yeah, it is what it is. You're going to lose a face-off sometimes. Nice to see the Wild tie this one up literally about midway through the game there. And then, just 2 minutes later, Matthew Dumba turns the puck over not once, but twice. And Jacob Silverberg scores his 11th goal of the season. The first turnover wasn't so bad. The second one, it was the classic. You have the puck behind the net. You start to skate out to either the left or the right, and you kind of make a centering type of pass to, in this case, it was Spurgeon, his current line mate. And, well, it was a turnover. It was taken away, and Silverberg just simply shot the puck and scored. Everyone on the bench ultimately trying to encourage Matthew Dumba. But, unfortunately, this is a costly goal for the Wild because they don't score again. They valiantly put the puck on net and all that good stuff, but they don't win the game. And huge frustration, ultimately, for the Wild in this one. John Gibson getting the job done, stopping 32 of 33 shots, stopping everything the Wild throw at him from there on. The Wild got 9 shots on goal in that third period. Ultimately, Anaheim only 7. Lots of defense overall. The Anaheim Ducks more physical in this game. The Wild dominating in the face-offs. The block shots were pretty even. The Wild just couldn't finish, unfortunately. The Wild with 10 blocks, 9 blocks for Anaheim. But the Ducks, you just got the vibe. They were the more physical team. They were more dominant overall in that category. 22-14 in the hits. And again, the fact that the Wild won the face-off, 60-40%, 34-23, bugs me just a little bit. They even had 5 power plays in the game. They got 1, which is nice, and they stopped all 3 of Anaheim's. But they just, you just wish somehow, some way they could have scored on 1 more of those power plays. Things could have been quite different. At least get a point out of the game. Obviously, simple math there, as simple as it gets, to be quite frank. But ultimately, the Wild again just do not beat the Ducks, and everybody keeps talking about the Wild and the Ducks. That is a favorable matchup. It's favorable to a point that the Wild make it interesting every time they play them. But how is it favorable when we lose every single time? Every single time we play the Ducks, we lose. It's a 3-game sweep on the season. 2-1 loss way back on October 17th. 5-4 loss in a shootout because our goalie sucks and we were scoring goals. 5-4 loss Friday, December the 5th. And the Anaheim Ducks, again in regulation, by the way, a 2-1 victory, March the 13th, Friday the 13th. Jason Voorhees was not in the building, but I hear he was nearby, so hopefully everyone was okay, just to be quite honest with you. He was wearing a hockey mask. Obviously, you would think he would when he's near Xcel Energy Center, but that's just a rumor, though. I'm going to leave that alone before I get a little bit too scary here. Ultimately, though, again, tell me how this is a favorable matchup for the Wild when they never beat the Ducks. It's like we play the Ducks and we're cursed. Like, we beat them once in a while. And when we actually win in Anaheim, I'm literally like stunned, like my jaw's hitting the floor. Like, what happened here? I'm so excited. Well, the Wild luckily go against a team that people thought we were playing well against last year, and they seem to always beat us in close matchups like this as well. And it had been, well, let's just say Jacques Lemaire was coaching the last time the Minnesota Wild won a regulation battle in this building. And the Wild win a regulation battle in St. Louis tonight, Saturday, March the 14th. In a game, it looked absolutely, on paper and, well, watching it, that the Wild were going to lose this game big time. Like, we were going to lose this thing 4-1. Like, we were putting nothing on net. They were absolutely dominating the puck the entire night. But there was one thing about the Blues tonight that told me they were in trouble. Just a little bit. Even though they're going to put 1 million shots on goal, maybe eventually they'll start going through and they'll win the game. But, man, they were not sharp at all. They were not sharp. Ultimately, the final score 3-1. But the Wild were not sharp at all. The Wild weren't sharp. But actually, they were sharp when they had the puck. But the Blues had the puck almost the entire game. 42 shots on net. 41 saves for Devin Dubnyk. That is amazing. That is impressive. And this is in Scott Trade Center. I keep trying to call it Joe. It's Scott Trade Center. And boy, I like trading stocks, and it's fun. It really is. I'm seeing Sprint flashing in the background. That's one of the stocks I've been in. Yeah, that might not be a bad buy right now. Okay, anyhow. But ultimately, oh my, Devin Dubnyk. Oh, Devin Dubnyk. Just an absolute hero. An absolute behemoth, Goliath in the net. Oh, Devin Dubnyk. Oh, Devin Dubnyk. Man, oh man, oh man. Double D, whatever we want to call you. D40, double D. Devin Dubnyk was absolutely unbelievable in this game. And the Wild were blocking some shots. That was nice. We appreciate that. In fact, we blocked 24 shots. St. Louis only blocked 11, but the Wild only put 19 shots on goal. Yet, the Wild were more aggressive in that third period. And we were scoring when we had major opportunities. Well, we blew it on several, but the Blues, again, were not sharp in this game at all. I mean, there's the opportunity, these centering passes. Oh, he lost the puck. Tarasenko, I don't know what was going on with him tonight. He had several opportunities to score, and he'd just lose the puck, or you would easily get the puck knocked away by a Wild defender, be it Spurgeon, be it Dumba, be it, God knows, Eric Haula. Eric Haula wasn't too sharp either at times. And he was kind of talking back and forth with Brunette, which was kind of cool looking. Seemed like they were having an extended conversation, and then it looked like Haula was kind of agreeing, like at the end, like, yeah, they kind of came to something. It wasn't like an argument, but it was like a, really? Huh. It was kind of like one of those type of conversations. Like Brunette was giving him like a lot of back and forth on that one. First period, there was what a lot of people thought was a goal by St. Louis, but ultimately, it didn't actually go in. It was initially approved because they thought it was reviewed initially because people thought it was a high stick, and they're like, no, it's not a high stick. But then, by the way, the puck actually has to go in the net for it to be called a goal. So, yeah, it was reversed. And then, looked like Zach Parise had a goal. Hell yeah. But no, first, before that, St. Louis scored right away. That was terrific. Just terrific when St. Louis scored. David Backes, of all people, scoring his 23rd goal of the year. Much to everyone's chagrin in this place, in this town, this state, and several Wild fans in Scott Trade Center there. Oh, David Backes. Does anybody like this SOB? Does anybody like him? Well, they probably like him in St. Louis, but oh my God, everybody hates him over here. He is just, he reminds me of what Olin Nolan used to be like. When he would just, every time there's anything going on, he would have to get his nose in it and be an asshole. And that's basically what David Backes is. I don't care if he's from Minnesota or from Vancouver, British Columbia. I hate his guts. I hate his guts until he's wearing green, red, and gold, baby. I hate his guts until he does. Sorry, that's just how I roll. He scored. It looked like the Wild had a goal right after that, though. It was amazing. So yeah, that's basically the order. And then unfortunately that goal was disallowed because they said Zach Parise's skate kicked it in when it looked like a nice rebound from Thomas Vanek. Again, Thomas Vanek and Parise again working together. Nice to actually been a nice little combination of late. But unfortunately that goal did not count. No sir. No sir. It was kicked in, or so it appeared to be. Most people on Twitter were saying it was the right call. Other people thought it wasn't. Me, I guess it was kicked in. I mean, whatever. Luckily, the Wild respond immediately, despite the fact St. Louis had been dominating the puck all night. And Thomas Vanek ultimately finishes on a shot by Charlie Coyle. Fontaine initially starting at Charlie Coyle, putting a shot on net. And Thomas Vanek finishing it. 17th goal of the season. 17 goals for Thomas Vanek now. It's starting to pile up, and it's nice to see. A lot of us that questioned Thomas Vanek for his effort and this and that, he looked pretty good tonight for the most part. He actually was winning puck battles. Thomas Vanek winning puck battles? Damn, that's hard to believe, but he was. Oh, almost midway through the third period, Nino Niederreiter, despite how many times the St. Louis Blues had 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, this or that, opportunities with the puck, centering passes, lost, or Devin Dubnyk, and either they'd lose the puck or Devin Dubnyk would make an amazing save. But then there it goes. Koivu, Spurgeon, Koivu, Niederreiter with his 22nd goal of the season. 22 goals for Nino Niederreiter now. Would put the Wild up 2-1 with less than 7 minutes left in the game. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, oh my God. The Wild are actually... The Wild are actually winning in St. Louis with less than 7 minutes remaining, about 6.5 left. And then just seconds later, Tarasenko has the puck. He's trying to take the puck from behind the net. I don't know what he's doing back that far anyway, but whatever. He has the puck. He skates to the left. Brodziak just takes it away from him and scores immediately. Kyle Brodziak, again, a guy who's often maligned in this town for this and that, bad plays here, bad play there, this or that, but the guy could be an absolute hero at the most awesome times, and that's why I appreciate Kyle Brodziak, and he makes some great defensive plays. I've kind of always liked him, even though he's had his gaffes, and he's had much fewer gaffes the last several weeks here. 9th goal of the year, of course, unassisted because he's the only Wild player that touched the puck in that instance. It was literally game over, 3-1 with about 6 minutes, 13 seconds left in the game. Pretty much game over. I mean, yeah, you figure the Blues are going to come at the Wild, and you never know because we've seen comebacks with very short time remaining and many times around. Even the Wild made it semi-interesting last time when the Avalanche were up 3-0. But we still lost. St. Louis had opportunities, but they didn't finish. Dubnyk got the job done. Brodziak was making stops. He was making nice blocks and all that stuff. I love Brodziak. I really do right now. He's definitely one of the true unsung heroes for this franchise. So many clutch goals at just shocking times when, he's only got 5 goals in the year. Yeah, but all of them are game winners or game tires. I mean, for goodness sakes. Appreciate what he does sometimes out there, guys. You gotta. He's a great fourth-line center when at the best times, it seems like. St. Louis couldn't score again. Dubnyk did what he did. The Wild made the stops that they made, the blocks and such. 3-1. And it's for the first time in 8 years, Jacques Lemaire was the coach back in 2007. The Minnesota Wild win in regulation in Scott Trade Center. Absolutely fantastic. What a wonderful way to wrap up the review segment. It's going to be probably longer than what the previous segment will be. Probably. I got to think. Because there's only 3 games to preview, and I'll probably be a little bit quicker with that, just because. But this was a very detailed, interesting type of week, I got to say, for the Wild. It sucks that they didn't, they ultimately did not win the... It sucks that they ultimately did not have a winning record this week, but hey, winning in St. Louis is a huge, huge confidence builder for this team, without a doubt. So there it is. Let's pass out the awards. The Mike Madonna Award is absolutely going to Devan Dubnyk. He kept the Wild in the games that we lost, and he saved the day in St. Louis. I mean, you lose to Anaheim, but you beat St. Louis on a back-to-back. And Devan Dubnyk hasn't sat out a single night since he's entered Minnesota, since he's put on the jersey and put on that mask. He has been the goalie for the Minnesota Wild. Other than, well, yeah, like I said, when he got shelled against Detroit, like I've said many times in the past, when he was getting shelled against Detroit, Kemper came in and was admirable in that stint. But other than that, he has started every single game for the Minnesota Wild since he has come here. So thank you again, Devan Dubnyk. Absolutely Mike Madonna Award. And hey, Matt Dumba was all right this week. He was all right, but certainly not as good as he was last week. And then he had that double turnover that ended up giving up the game-winning goal to the Anaheim Ducks. I got to give it to him. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Rookie mistake, whatever, but he's not really a rookie anymore. He's kind of a rookie still. But yeah, two turnovers. We ended up losing the game there. It didn't cost us the game because it was still the second period. But hey, it put Anaheim up 2-1, and it unfortunately ended up being the game-winning goal. So there it is. What's his name? James Shepard. Yep, James Shepard, the forgettable James Shepard Award will be going to Matt Dumba for this week. All right, let's preview next week right after this.
Do you shop on Amazon? Did you know that you can support this podcast just by doing your normal shopping on Amazon? It's really easy to do. Just go to thesportstuff.com and click on one of the many Amazon pictures. Do your normal shopping, and Amazon sees that we referred you, and they give us a percentage. We'd like to thank you in advance for supporting thesportstuff.com, and please use our Amazon link. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
We are going round like Saturn dream.
We are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2, preview segment. 3 games to preview. Let's hop right to it. Tuesday, March the 17th, Minnesota Wild head to Nashville, Tennessee, a team that's been struggling a bit. A team that's no longer in sole possession of first place in this division. They're tied with the St. Louis Blues. Okay, well, good for them, I suppose. 91 points apiece, and the Wild beat the St. Louis Blues tonight. Cool. And the Wild recently beat the Nashville Predators last week. Can the Wild continue their success against these good teams? We're going to have to play Nashville, Washington, and St. Louis this week. It's going to be it's going to be quite a test against some talented teams right now. Nashville Predators, well, all the usual suspects. Yeah, on Yahoo right now, 100% of you out there are picking the Minnesota Wild to beat the Nashville Predators. That's pretty confident, to be quite honest. The only guy who's out for the Nashville Predators is a familiar name of Eric Nystrom. Yeah. You know, the same guy that played here a few years back, like a third-liner guy that we thought was quite a bit overpaid for what he was bringing. Yeah, that guy. Philip Forsberg, guys like that still leading the way. Mike Ribeiro, Shea Weber, all the same studs. Rene out there being one of the better goalies in hockey. Can the Nashville Predators kind of shake off what they've been doing of late? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of this one. It's going to be a tough matchup, without a doubt. Right now, This is Bridgestone Arena, by the way. I don't want to be overconfident. I don't want to be cocky or anything. But I will have the Wild beating the Nashville Predators. They have been struggling. I think the Wild continue their success against the Predators. They've been scoring against them for the most part this year, despite the fact that Nashville has, Nashville has one of the better goalies in hockey. We've talked about that before. Remember, they scored 5 goals against Nashville back when both of their goalies sucked. Kind of similar to St. Louis. And then we lost 3-1 at home. That was the one time that Rene utterly stopped the Wild. And then, of course, 4 goals against him last time around in Nashville. I think the Wild can win again. And we're going to have to... This doesn't look like a very fair schedule. The Wild they play the first 2 games at home and then 3 in a row in Nashville over the season series. 5 games against your divisional opponent. I think the Wild win this one and even up the series. How about that? Again, I don't want to sound cocky at all. And don't be surprised if I pick Nashville to win the season series in April 9th. Ultimately, but that's a ways off. We'll see how things are going right now. Nashville the Wild sent the Predators in a 6-game losing streak, to be quite honest. And I think the Wild had another loss to the St. Louis Blues. The Nashville Predators in this one. I think the Wild have a similar type of game. I think they win 3-2. Not 4-2, but 3-2 in Nashville. It might take a shootout to get there, so it would be kind of like a fake 3-2, but it's still a win. You know what I mean? It may take a shootout to do it. Don't be surprised if that's the case, but I think the Wild do win the game. They get 2 points. Nashville gets either 1 point or 0 points. And what will be quite it'll be quite a game indeed by 2 very good goalies. I just think Dubnyk will be a little bit better, and I think the Wild continue to score their timely goals. I'm very encouraged with that. Hopefully it's not and if the Wild only get 1 goal, they absolutely do not win this game. To be quite frank and quite blunt, per se. The Washington Capitals come to Xcel Energy Center Thursday, March the 19th. I like the Wild against them, too, right now. I love the way the Wild played against them a couple weeks ago. But then again, I don't really love it anyway. Ultimately, the Wild only scored 2 goals against Washington, but the fact we were able to win that game and shut down their offense in general. Ovechkin will be back this time, unfortunately, which will make things very tough. This might be a loss for the Wild, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I do think go on a limb. Yeah, basically, Holtby was fantastic against the Wild last time around. Will he be the man in net again? Probably. I mean, he's a pretty good goalie. 32-18 on the year, 2.21 goals against average save percentage, 92.37. That's right, 7 shutouts on the year for the Saskatchewan native, Lloyd Minster, Saskatchewan native to be exact. Really, the Avalanche, they're kind of like the Avalanche of the East in some ways. How they've had a lot of scoring but don't always have success in the playoffs. Holtby is a damn good goalie, though, unfortunately. And boy, he's a nice savior for that franchise right now for a team that has a lot of offense. When you have a good goalie to go with that offense, could be a good team for a long time. We'll see how that turns out. They've lost 2 games in a row though to the Rangers and the Dallas Stars, and yet they crushed Buffalo 6-1. Couple games back. The Wild again, only 1 game against them, only 2 goals against Holtby, but it was enough. Oh, man, I may pick the Wild I'm bouncing on this one. I will pick the Wild with a win again. 3-1. I think the Wild win 3-1. I think that Dubnyk is that good, and he's gonna keep the... He might think I'm nuts, but I think he's gonna keep the Washington Capitals to a 2-1 goal again, and the Wild managed to score 3, maybe only 2. I'll go 2-1. I know it's kind of like repeating the last game, but I see a similar situation here with the 2 goalies kind of duking it out, and Dubnyk being that much better, and the Wild being more clutch. Maybe it's a Brodziak, a Niederreiter, somebody like that. It's going to be one of those type of guys that's going to score the goal. Don't be surprised if Thomas Vanek has at least 1 or 2 goals this week. Thomas Vanek will probably light the lamps again this week. That is another prediction I'm throwing in overall. That's how it goes. You got a Wild win there, but then the St. Louis Blues come to town Saturday, March the 21st. You know, you'd like to pick the Wild to win at home against the St. Louis Blues after beating them in Scott Trade Center. You I've been watching this team very, very closely for a long time, and particularly the last couple of years against St. Louis. This just reeks of a loss. I'm going to pick the St. Louis Blues 3-2, 3-1, 3-2. I'll go 3-2 in this one. Maybe the Wild squeak a point out, but don't win the game, possibly in overtime. But I think, pardon me, the St. Louis Blues win the game, unfortunately. The usual suspects. Elliott is a pretty good goalie. He was actually 6-0-1 against the Wild in his history. That's one of the reasons I always liked Elliott. I like him over here rather than there in St. Louis. But it's going to be somebody like Tarasenko. I got to think he's going to play better. I mean, he had a horrible game tonight. Tarasenko reeked of James Shepard Memorial for the St. Louis Blues. At least for tonight's game. Backus is what he is. He's going to be a pain in the butt. TJ Oshie's, both of them were just making asses of themselves tonight, and it drove us crazy. Oshie was punching Dumba and all that stuff, and Dumba was simply trying to get him out there. Yes, he was being physical, but he was getting him out of the net. He was in the net. Like, get the hell out of here. And then, which is part of the game. And then Oshie started punching him in the back of the head. That's classy. Sure is. I can't stand the St. Louis Blues. If you hadn't noticed, I mean, I've never, ever liked the Blues. Never liked the Blues. I don't like their fans either, to be quite frank. They're always pissy. They're always mean. They're always arrogant. But guess what? You still have as many Stanley Cups as us, so get off your high horse, assholes. That's what I got to say about the Blues and their fan base, to be quite frank. Olli Jokinen was acquired during the trade, but he hasn't been available. At least not lately. But again, I do think the Blues win. I just know the history, unfortunately. Probably be Brian Elliott. It probably won't be Allen, but if it's Allen, whatever, I still think the Blues win. They always win in Xcel Energy Center. I mean, they always do. It'll be something like a shootout or something. I mean, it's going to be possibly like back in November, but a 3-2 victory for the St. Louis Blues, unfortunately. And again, like I said, Tarasenko is going to be better this time around. Watch out. Don't be surprised if he scores 1 or 2 goals against Devan Dubnyk coming up next Saturday, unfortunately. I really hope I'm wrong and the Wild sweep this thing here. But, I mean, they might lose one game, and maybe it's not St. Louis. Maybe it's Washington. Maybe it's the Nashville Predators. Who knows? I'm usually right about the record, but wrong about the team. That's happened sometimes, but again, I just know the Wild's history against St. Louis, and I'm not biting right now, and I'm not going to go a 3-0 record this week. I can't do that. I mean, they had a 500 week this week. They took a teeny little step back, but they're still showing they're extremely competitive by going 1-1 against the 2 best teams in the Western Conference right now. So props to the Minnesota Wild in that sense, without a doubt. Those are your previews, pardon me. I'm bouncing all over the place here. Sound like a crazy person, don't I? Dare I check in on the Iowa Wild just ever so briefly? Do I have to? Yeah, I will. Tyler Grayovac has not scored a point in, the past 2 shows. Not sure what's going on there. Still with 40 points, 58 games played on the season. Overall, again, let's check the Jared Knight watch. Did he score anything this past week? Jared Knight, the best player ever? Nope. 38 points on the season, only 38 games on the season, still only 4 points. And again, this guy was a first round pick for the Boston Bruins a couple of years back. Second round pick, pardon me, a early second round pick. Only 4 points in the AHL in almost 30 games. That is flat out pathetic. Hopefully, somehow, some way, he could be another Nito Niederreiter, because he had numbers like that for the New York Islanders in the past. Maybe he'll come through, but as of right now, this year, it looks like an absolute lost season for our top prospect down there in Iowa. He's the top Iowa prospect. But then again, really, it's Tyler Grayovac, even though he was a 7th-round pick a couple of years back in 2011. That is a good pick. I'm looking forward to possibly seeing him on the 4th line at some point. If Eric Holla moves up, maybe we lose someone via free agency or injury. Don't be surprised if Grayovac comes up if there is an injury to a Brodziak, a Koivu, or something, or Holla. But again, knock on wood, none of those guys get hurt, because I'd rather have them up here than Grayovac at this stage, particularly heading into April and into ultimately the Stanley Cup playoffs, which the Wild will be participants in, ultimately. Those were the prospects really of note. Brett Ballmer, I've given up on him. He's just a guy that scores once in a while and beats somebody up once in a while. I really don't care about him anymore. Brett Sutter has actually been fairly solid, but he's still kind of a third, fourth line type of guy when he's in the NHL, and he's been solid down there in Iowa, but not really majorly standing out. And the rest of the guys are more the minor league type of players, to be quite honest. Folin has been a healthy scratch this week with the return of Jared Spurgeon, and of course Scandella still unavailable for the Minnesota Wild the past week or two, unfortunately, with that injury. So we'll see where things go with yet another injury. He's, the Spurgeon, Scandella, they missed games with this and that, unfortunately, and Brodin had a concussion earlier in the year. Let's just hope we don't have concussion junction all over again. That would be quite nice. On that note, no concussion junction. On that note, let's look to wrap up this show and hope for a nice positive week for the Wild. I do think they get at least 4. Yeah, I do think the Wild get 4 out of a possible 6 points, maybe 5, depending on the such. Anything less than that would be kind of a bummer, but don't be too surprised because these are all extremely good teams coming into Xcel Energy Center and, of course, visiting the Nashville Predators over there. Yes, sir. Hopefully the Predators don't get things right before that game. Let's hope hopefully they get things right after that game, not before or during, to be quite frank. I would be absolutely freaking thrilled if the Wild won all 3 games this week, because if they do, it's like they are a foregone conclusion. They are making the playoffs, and boy, it's going to be interesting to see just how good they ultimately can be. We shall see. All right, with that, let's wrap it up. Go Wild. Keep up the good work. Rock on.